Hello, welcome back and welcome in. My name is Nikki Wheeler. If you're interested in gaming, go subscribe to my other channel and follow my Twitch to see my gaming live. Now, let's start this video. Today, I will be discussing Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is a 2019 novel turned film written by Casey McQuiston. This book came to life as a 2023 Amazon original starring Taylor Zakhar Perez as Alex Claremont Diaz and Nicholas Galitzine as Prince Henry. Both are established actors in their own right, with Nicholas playing in movies like Handsome Devil, Purple Hearts, and the most recent Cinderella movie, and Taylor playing in the Kissing Booth movies and One Up. Now, the actual plot of this movie is about the first son of the United States being enemies with Prince Henry, the fourth-in-line heir to the British throne, whose transatlantic rivalry belies a mutual attraction that neither is willing to admit until a cake-toppling incident at a royal event forces them to stage a fake friendship. There were several changes from the book to the film, but I wouldn't say any of them were horrible or made the adaptation worse, like a lot of people expected. One of the changes that I thought was the most necessary, because it didn't make that much sense in the book to me, was the actual meeting of the two boys. In the novel, they meet at the 2016 Rio Olympics, and instead they meet at a party at a climate conference in Melbourne, where the first impressions definitely could have been better. The first meetings are always one of the most iconic pieces in literature, so adjusting this was a bold move on the director's part, but I think it worked in their favor because it lines up much better with the actual duties of both boys. Then again, that could just be me being picky with small details, but as the book says, we have to be realistic to be idealistic. Another one of the changes was Alex's political aspirations for his mother's campaign. In the book, we see he is working with his mom quite briefly because he was forced off the team because of the outing of feelings with Henry, while in the movie, he gets to write a 14-page memo on how to flip Texas and follows through with it, even after the hack. I think this change was extremely well thought out because during his time campaigning for his mom throughout Texas, we get to see the visible establishment of finding voters while he talks to Henry about his feelings about this re-election. I think it was a more visually pleasing section of the movie compared to what might have happened if it did not get changed. Speaking of the emails, another change that I enjoyed was the addition of the character Miguel Ramos, a Politico journalist who happens to be an ex-hookup of Alex. We see him at the beginning of the movie as Alex is leaving a coffee shop and he gets pulled aside for a mini interview by him. This is kind of where we learn how Miguel really is as a person, because here it is supposed to be off the record. But later, right before the leak happens, we see him again and he's twisting Alex's words and also said that it was on the record. It throws in a major idea that he is the one behind the leaks, and it's never confirmed, but it is definitely hinted at with the news interview that he did, which completely sucks. I only say I like his introduction as a character because in the book, we have Rafael Luna, a senator that Alex helped elect. So this character is supposed to be a quote-unquote replacement, and I like their story much more better than Raphael's because it is more straightforward and not nearly as convoluted. They started working with the opposite party senator, but for good reason, which is a lot to take in and digest in the small time constraint of a movie, so Miguel was definitely a good adaptation. Another good reason I love this change was rather than showing the immediate aftermath of the hack from Alex's perspective, the director opted to follow Henry on the morning of the leak. The scene in which Zara, Ellen's deputy chief of staff, calls Sean, Henry's equerry, on the emergency phones to connect the lovesick Alex and Henry while both the White House and the palace were shut down from any communication. It shows that they would go to pretty much any length to communicate with each other, which is beautiful. Now, onto a change that I didn't actually like was the scene at the lake house. We get to see the almost emotional scene where Alex tries to tell Henry that he loves him. In the novel, it is nighttime when this occurs, but in the movie, it is daytime. While visually both of these options would have been beautiful, I think nighttime would have been the best option because of the silent and almost intimate atmosphere of the water. I won't lie to you, I am a major sucker for blue lighting in a lot of nighttime scenes because of the release of tension it brings, and it gives such a nice, cool and chill vibe to the movie. It being daytime also gives it the vibrancy I think the director was looking for, and the appeal of sunlight hitting brown eyes like Henry's is definitely through the roof, and I love seeing it, but it didn't achieve the serenity and calmness I had imagined. This next change wasn't a huge one, so I'm not gonna nitpick it, but in the novel, Henry's signet ring is given to Alex to put on his necklace rather than trading like they did in the movie. I like the idea of giving each other something rather than one getting something and the other doesn't. So I think the movie did it right in that aspect, especially because it seems like Henry had used his ring as some sort of comfort item. He had started to either mess with it or adjust it whenever there was high anxiety or tension rising. So, him giving that up to Alex and Alex giving him his key necklace was a huge sign of trust. This is another one of those moments that was kind of realistic because it was supposed to be a moment of balance in the relationship and how it's a two-way street. And it also leaves a connection between the two when they are away from each other. Now, if you have read the book, you would know the iconic line, "History, huh? Bet we could make some," first comes up in the beautiful V&A museum scene, in which Henry tells Alex that he wants their names to be forever intertwined in history books. This is just another one of the changes I loved because this scene was truly intimate and romantic. Henry opened up fully about his father and showed vulnerability and a dream of his, which came to fruition in that same scene. Now, there was a change that I actually kind of was neutral on, and that was Princess Beatrice, or B. In the novel, she is a recovering cocaine addict, as after her father's passing, she couldn't handle all the stress. But in the movie, it completely negates that, and B remains her brother's closest confidant and encourages his blossoming romance with Alex. Now, what I'm going to talk about next isn't a change, but I did want to speak on it because, as someone who does read a good portion of LGBTQ books and their adaptations to on screen films, I wanted to touch on the topic. Closed Door or Fade to Black is a genre or subtext of genre that has been huge in the romance field forever, and it can be extremely good when you aren't looking for the intimacy side of things or want any sort of descriptive verbiage of the happening. And Red, White, and Royal Blue is not that whatsoever, but it isn't too far out there either, which is why I love it so much and find it much easier to read and even watch. With certain things being portrayed, it is very hard to find the right amount of passion and intimacy versus a complete explosion of sexual frustration, which is something I never thought I would have to say. While in the novel some things can be quite descriptive, it's for beauty rather than the actual sexual prospects. In the movie, the portrayal is so sweet and beautiful because it does show the love of the two people involved, which is all I needed to know. It's well written, not super graphic, and it helps show the growth and nature of Alex and Henry's relationship. Now, as for the reason I mentioned LGBTQ, is because in a lot of media, gay people are viewed as sexual deviants or only sexual. I would like to see more and more films and shows come out that don't show that much because that isn't the only part to gay people's lives, as they are just people too, and it's kind of stereotypical to have the hypersexualized gay character everywhere. Now, for some final thoughts, I thought the book was extremely good, and if you enjoy reading, I think you should pick it up and give it a read. As far as the movie goes, the changes were surprisingly well thought out and welcomed many new characters and changes of views. I'm glad it wasn't an MLM romance to titillate cishet women like some LGBTQ media. I am also heavily into reading the trope of enemies to lovers just because I find it much easier to read two separate people's stories that come together in the end. I cannot express how much I love Alex and Henry's relationship and how, as their relationship grows, they each separately grow too. The only criticism I have for the movie is the casting of Alex. I have watched the movie 3 times over now, and each time I still can't get it out of my head that Taylor Zakhar Perez still wasn't the top option, even though his portrayal was really good, better than The Kissing Booth, that is, and he has proved himself to me after those 3 movies. There were a couple of emotional scenes, like right before the museum, that didn't give off the vibe 100% for me. I feel like there could have been a couple of options open for a different actor, but one that I looked at heavily was maybe Marcel Ruiz. Besides that, and like maybe 3 cringeworthy lines that are just personal nags of mine, the movie was a really well adapted film. I highly suggest it if you're looking for a good enemies to lovers rom-com. And with that, I'm going to end the video there. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Comment down below suggestions for the next one, and until next time, bye guys.